Today we will go for the semiconductors. In semiconductors we have diodes and rectifiers. Okay. What very simple parameter on a diode is in rectifier, what it will do? It will convert in the AC voltage into DC voltage. It converts AC into DC. So main part of a rectifier diode is it converts AC voltage into DC voltage. Okay. So the basic, what is meant by semiconductor? They are neither good conductor. These semiconductors are neither good conductors or not good insulators. That is why it is known as a semiconductor. The number of value electrons in conductors are only 4. That means in between the conductors and insulators. The property of the semiconductor is lie between conductor and insulator. At room temperature, the resistance of the semiconductors are very high, just like insulator. At high temperature, the resistance of the semiconductors are decreased, so it will start conduct. So there are two types of semiconductors. One is silicon and germanium. Silicon is called as Si and germanium is called as Ge. Okay. So this is the pattern of the silicon conductor and the silicon semiconductor and the germanium semiconductor. Germanium semiconductor will have more ions, whereas silicon semiconductors have less ions. In solid state electronics, either pure silicon or germanium may be used as an intrinsic semiconductor, which forms the starting point fabrication. Each has 4 valence electrons, but germanium will have at a given temperature have more free electrons at higher conductivity. Silicon is by far the more widely used semiconductor for electronics, partially because it can be used as much higher temperature than the germanium thing. So when it is used in the circuit, the heat dissipation on the germanium will be more compared to silicon. So these are all the different types of semiconductors: the LED, the transistor, the SMD transistor, and your diode. Okay. In a semiconductor, basically when we intrinsic semiconductors are pure semiconductor material. At room temperature, the thermal energy of the atoms may allow a small number of electrons to participate in the conduction process. Extrinsic semiconductor formed from intrinsic semiconductor by added impurity atoms to the crystal, a process known as doping. By doping process, we can get 2 types of extrinsic semiconductors. One is P type, another is N type. Okay. These are materials which have trivalent impurity atom added and conducted by Hall movement, are therefore called P-type semiconductor. Okay, it's slightly higher thing, and at each impurity atom generates a hole. Triangular impurities are generally known as acceptors, as they are continually accepting extra of free electrons. The doping of boron atoms causes conduction and consists mainly of positive charge carries, resulting in a P-type material, which the positive holes being called majority carriers, where the free electrons are called minority carriers. A P-type semiconductor has more holes than electrons, whereas N-type will have more or less electrons compared to P electrons. In this type of materials, the acceptors are negatively charged. There are large number of holes, a small number of free electrons in relation to the number of holes. Doping gives negativity charged acceptors. Supply of energy gives positive charge holes and negative charge free electrons. Slightly advanced thing, just to know what it is. N-type, there are materials which have pentavalent impurity atoms added to the conductor conduct by electrons movement are therefore called N-type. And as each impurity atom donates 1 electron, prevalent 2 atoms are generally known as donors. The resulting semiconductor basic material has excess the current carrying electrons, each with a negative charge, and therefore referred to as N-type material, with these electrons called as majority carriers, while the resulting hole is called minority carriers. In N-type semiconductors, the donor are positively charged. There are large number of free electrons, a small number of holes in relation to the number of free electrons. Doping gives positive charged donors, negatively charged free electrons. Supply of energy gives negatively charged free electrons and positively charged holes. This is slightly advanced thing. Periodic table, what is the germanium and what is it silicon and carbon and arsenic values. Okay. Okay. A p-n junction, a positive and negative junction, is formed with a n-type material. It is fused together with a p-type material, creating a semiconductor diode. Okay. You have negative part of it. A p-n junction, an n-type material is fused with the p-type material. So that is known as the p-n junction. The doped n-type and p-type semiconductors materials do very little on their own, as they have electrically neutral thing. However, if we join these two semiconductor material together, they behave like a very different way, mixing together and producing with the what it is generally known as a p-n junction, positive and negative junction. Similarly, when the n-type semiconductor and p-type semiconductor materials are first joined together, the very largely density gradient exists between both sides of the p-n junction. The result is the same of the free electrons from the donor impurity atoms begins to migrate across the newly formed junction, fill up the holes in p-type material, producing negative ions. However, because these electrons have moved across the p-n junction from the n-type silicon to the p-type silicon, they leave behind positively charged donor ions on the negative side, and now the holes from the acceptor impurity migrate across the junction in the opposite direction into the region where there are large number of free electrons. As a result, the charge density of the p-type, also the junction is filled with a negative charged acceptor ion, and the charge density of the n-type along with the junction becomes positive. The charge transfer of electrons and holes across the p-n junction is known as the diffusion. The width of these p and n-type layers depends on how heavily each side is doped with acceptor density Na and the donor density Nb respectively. This process continues back and forth until the number of electrons which have crossed the junctions have a large enough electrical charge and repel or prevent and more charge carriers from the crossing of the junction. Eventually, a state of equilibrium, electronically neutral situation will occur preceding the potential barrier zone around the area of the junction, as the donor atoms repel the holes and the acceptor atoms repel the electrons. Since no free charge carriers can rest in a position where there is a potential barrier, the region of the either side of the junction now became completely repelled on any more free carriers in comparison to the n and p type materials further away from the junction. The area around the p-n junction is now called depletion layer. Okay. So there is an N region and there is a P region. If it is connected with the battery, the ions will flow. It is known as the in between is known as the depletion layer. The total charge of each side of a p-n junction must be equal and opposite to maintain a neutral charge between around the junction. If the depletion layer region has a distance d, therefore must be the Ramesh. Okay, ரொம்ப டெக்னிக்கலா ரொம்ப highly டெக்னிக்கலா போகுது. Okay, if it is P and P junction and the N junction is interfered, it is known as the diode. If you have P junction, N junction, and again one P junction is connected, it is known as the PNP transistor. If it is in a reverse way, if N junction and a P junction in between and another N junction, it is known as the NPN transistor. So there will be two types of transistor, NPN transistor, PNP transistor. Okay. In the diode also we have, since PN means it is a positive and negative thing, it is known as a germanium diode, or N and P will be a silicon diode. So any combination will be only positive and negative region connected. It is only two regions connected is known as diode. If three junctions are connected, it is known as the transistor. Okay. So how it is been connected into in the circuit, it's all very elaborated process. Simply to know, okay, the diodes will rectification of AC into DC and DC into AC. Okay, for that the rectifier diodes are used in the circuits. Normally in power supplies we use a single diode. A single diode is known as the half wave rectifier. Okay, if a single diode. If there are four diodes are used, if two diodes are used, known as the full wave rectifier. Okay, both cycle of AC, positive and the negative cycle will be converted into DC. So that is why it is known as the full wave rectifier. Half wave rectifier, only the positive cycles will be rectified. That is known as the half wave rectifier. Whereas a bridge rectifier will have four diodes. Two will work on the negative side and two will work on the positive side, and you will get a pure DC across that. It is known as the bridge rectifier. Half wave rectifier, full wave rectifier, and the bridge rectifier. Okay. For AC, see, all our electronic circuits will work on DC voltage. Almost 90% of the circuits will work on only the DC. So what we have to do is we'll get only 230 volt AC in our house. So that has to be stepped down, and then from 230 we'll kind of step down to 12 volt or 9 volt or 6 volt according to the circuit operation. We have to convert, we have to step down. After stepping down the voltage, we will convert that AC voltage into DC voltage. Okay, once we convert into DC voltage, we can apply to the circuit. Okay, if these circuits, if it is half wave rectifier or full wave rectifier is connected, we will get a DC voltage, but the DC voltage will have slight ripple of AC, to avoid that. We have the capacitor electronic capacitor is connected across, so that smoothens the DC part of it, and then we will get a pure DC output. So normally for all our electronic circuits, works from 6 volt to nowadays it is 12 volt, or sometimes even 24 volt we have DC voltage working operation things. Okay. Similarly, when we have the receiver, in the receiver circuits and all, when we get a incoming signal, okay, that has been processed, it will be amplified, all this, that after the process it will be still in the DC voltage. So that DC voltage has to be converted into AC voltage to drive the speaker. So the RF signal, once it comes, it has been processed, and using a diode, that RF signal is been converted into an AC voltage. So that AC is been applied to our speaker, so where you will get your audio. And the reverse process, similarly, when we use our audio, the AC process is converted into DC to modulate, and then it will be transmitted. Okay, so that is a part of a simple diode, N type diode or P type diode is being used to that. So germanium and silicon. Germanium values are the 0.7 is the conductance thing. So normally germanium transistor, because of the size and because of the metal body, mostly an aluminum body will be there, the body. So the heat dissipation will be more. Okay. So after that only on all the most of the circuits they use silicon diode. Silicon, since it's a silicon diode, and the outer conducting part, insulating part of it will be a silicon or okay. Now we are going to the PN junction diode. Okay, what is PN junction diode? I told you, the P type material fused with a depletion layer, it is fused with the N-type diode. N-type material is known as a PN junction. Okay, P-type material is known as the anode and the N-type material is known as cathode. Okay, so the current flow will be from anode to cathode, and normally the cathode is been marked with a layer, with a circle layer. It's known as the cathode in the diodes. A very bias, how to bias the PN junction diode. A suitable positive voltage applied between the two ends of the PN junction can supply the free electrons and holes with the extra energy. The external voltage required is overcome, then the potential barrier then now exists very much dependent upon the type of semiconductor material used in its actual temperature. Typically, a room temperature, the voltage across the depletion layer for silicon is 0.6 to 0.7 volt and the germanium is about 0.3 to 0.35 volt. These potential barriers always exist even if the device is not connected to any external source. It is known as the diode forward bias. Okay, so diode the positive connector has been connected to positive layer and the negative is connected to the negative region. In between you have the depletion layer. So the diode will conduct in one way, from P to N it will conduct. So always anode will be positive and cathode will be on the negative thing. When a diode is connected in forward bias condition, a negative voltage is applied to the N-type material and the positive voltage is applied to the positive type material. If the external voltage becomes greater than the value of potential barrier, that is 0.7 volts, the for silicon is 0.3 volt, for 0.7 volts for silicon and 0.3 volt for germanium, the potential barrier opposition will be overcome and the current flow will start. This is because the negative voltage pushes the repel electrons towards the junction, giving them the energy to cross over and combine with the holes being pushed into opposite direction towards the junction by the positive voltage. This result is a characteristic curve of a zero current flow up to the voltage point called the knee of the static curve, and then a high current flow through the diode with a little increase in external voltage as shown below. Diode reverse bias. Reverse bias means the positive side is connected to negative, the negative side is connected to positive. Okay, this is known as a reverse bias. Forward bias is where the diode will conduct. So for that, P region has to be connected to positive, N region has to be connected on negative. Reverse bias, it's vice versa. When a diode is connected in the reverse bias condition, a positive voltage is applied to N material and the negative voltage is applied to P material. This positive voltage applied to N material attracts electrons towards the positive electrode and away from the junction, while the holes in the P-type end are always attracted away from the junction towards the negative electrode. The net result is that depletion layer grows wider due to the lack of electrons and the holes and presents a high impedance path. Almost an insulator has high potential barrier, it carries across the junction, thus preventing current from flowing through the semiconductor material. The condition represents a high resistance value to the PN junction, and practically zero current flows through the junction diode with an increase in bias voltage. However, a very small reverse leakage current does flow through the junction, which can normally be measured in microamperes. One final point, if the reverse bias voltage applied to the diode, it increases to sufficiently high enough value, it will cause the diode PN junction to overheat and fail due to the avalanche effect around the junction. This may cause the diode to become short, and while result is the flow of maximum current, circuit current, and thus shown as a step downward slope in the reverse static characteristic curve below. So for example, it is too technical. I'll simply say a reverse bias diode, okay, in a circuit. On the input we are giving a 12 volt DC, a positive and negative polarity. Okay, there we will be putting a reverse diode. Okay, reverse diode means positive will be connected to negative, the positive thing. Okay, when you apply the voltage, the correct voltage, the circuit will operate. So by chance, if you reverse the polarity, okay, positive to negative, negative to positive, the particular diode connected in the reverse polarity will conduct, and it happen if it immediately the diode will conduct, and if the fuse is connected in the circuit, that fuse will blow off. So that way the diode helps to prevent the circuit from the reverse voltage. Okay, that is the application of the reverse characteristic of a diode. The application. Okay. So these are all the diode conduction characteristic curve where the breakdown voltage appears, and in the forward region where it conducts. So these are a simple curve. Junction diode summary. Semiconductors contain two types of mobile charge carriers, holes and electrons. The holes are positively charged while the electrons are negatively charged. A semiconductor may be doped with a donor impurities such as antimony, so that it contains mobile charge which are primary electrons. A semiconductor may be doped with acceptor impurities as an boron p-type doping, so that it contains mobile charge which are mainly holes. The junction region itself has no charge carrier and is known as the depletion region. The junction depletion region has a physical thickness that varies with the applied voltage. When a diode is zero bias, no external energy source is applied to the natural potential barrier is developed across the depletion layer, which is approximately 0.5 to 0.7 for silicon and 0.3 to 0.3 volt is for germanium. When the junction diode is forward bias, the thickness of the depletion region reduces and the diode acts like a short circuit, allowing full circuit current to flow. When the junction diode is reverse bias, the thickness of the depletion region increases and the diode acts like an open circuit, blocking any current flow, only a very small leakage current. We have also seen above the diode in two-terminal non-linear device whose I minus V characteristics are polarity dependent, and depending upon the polarity of the applied voltage, VD, the diode is either forward bias or VDC is less than 0. Greater than 0 is a reverse bias. Either way, we can mold this current voltage characteristics for both an ideal current and for a real silicon diode. So these are all the ideal diode and the real diode. Here the important point is, for the NPN transistor, the depletion region voltage varies between 0.6 to 0.7, whereas the germanium it is 0.2 to 0.3 voltage. So these 2 points you have to keep it in the memory. So maximum forward current, peak inverse voltage, total power dissipation, maximum operating temperature. Then there are three main parameters that must be considered when either selecting or replacing a signal diode. These are the reverse voltage rating, the forward current rating, the forward power dissipation rating. Now we come to the power diodes and rectifiers. A widely used application of this feature and diode is a conversion of the alternating voltage into a DC voltage. In other words, rectification. Rectification is it converts the AC voltage into DC voltage. Since the power diode has a large PN junction, it is most suitable for the high frequency application above 1 MHz, but special and expensive high frequency higher current diodes are available. For high frequency rectification application, Scotchy diodes are generally used because of the short reverse recovery time and low voltage drop in the forward bias condition. Okay, half wave rectifier. A rectifier in the circuit which converts the alternating current into power, into a direct current output power. The input power supply of a rectifier is AC supply. The power diode in the half wave rectifier circuit passes just one half of each supply in order to convert it into DC supply. Then this type of circuit is called half wave rectifier because it passes only half of the incoming AC power supply. In the AC sine wave, we have a positive thing and negative sign. So for our house, we get a 50 hertz. 50 hertz is the AC cycle. So 25 positive cycles and 25 negative cycles. So if you use a half wave rectifier, all the 25 cycles of AC, positive AC cycles will be rectified. Okay. So this is the method of reverse bias open circuit which convert the input voltage and the output voltage is an DC. So this is the input from a transformer. We step down the voltage from 230 to whatever be the voltage, higher voltage into a lower voltage, and we use a diode and we get a DC pulsating DC output. Pulsating DC output. During each positive half cycle of a AC sine wave, the diode is forward biased and the anode is positive with respect to the cathode, resulting the current flow through the diode. During each negative half cycle, the AC sinusoidal input waveform, the diode is reverse biased as the anode is negative with respect to the cathode. Therefore, no current flow through the diode. The current of the DC side of the circuit flows in one direction and making the circuit unidirectional. Root mean square RMS, it's a value of the supply voltage. So slightly complicated the thing, so not to worry about this. Okay. For example, calculate the voltage drop and the current flow through a 100 ohm resistor connected to 240 volt RMS single phase of the rectifier as shown above. You have to apply the formula and what will be the final value? I is equal to V by R. V is equal to 108 volt, R is equal to 100 ohms, so 1.08 amps. So I is power is equal to I square R is equal to 1.8 square into 100 is equal to 118 volt. 118 volt will be the voltage drop across the circuit. 118 watts, sorry, 118 watts. Okay. So to smooth, okay, to even if you use a half wave rectifier, just to smoothen the voltage, we use a small switching capacitor to a certain level. We smoothen the voltage, output DC voltage. That will be like a sawtooth wave, just like if you cut across your saw, you can see your saw blade, no? That like that it will be the output voltage, that is known as the sawtooth wave. When the rectification is used to provide a direct voltage power supply from an alternating source, the amount of ripple voltage can be further reduced by using large value capacitors, but there are limits both on cost and size of the type of smoothing capacitors. For a given capacitor value, a greater load current will discharge the capacitor more quickly. Then for single phase half wave rectifier circuit, using a power diode is not very practical to try and reduce the ripple voltage by capacitor smoothing alone. In this instance, it would be more practical to use full wave rectifier. Okay, here it's a full wave rectifier. We use two diodes for the positive energy and two diodes for the negative things. So that way when AC voltage is applied, we get a pure DC voltage, not the pure DC voltage, there will be slight ripple in the output thing. So for one cycle that diode will conduct, for the other diode, cycle, the D2 will continue. So the output result is you will get the slightly smoother DC output, whereas previous half-wave rectifier only like a sawtooth, only one portion of the cycle is been rectified. Here both the cycles have been rectified. The full wave rectifier circuit consists of two power diodes connected in single load resistance, with each diode taking in turn to supply current of the load. When point A of the transformer is positive, the respective the diode C2 and D1 conducts, and when the B is positive, the negative half of the cycle, the respective C is diode D2 conducts in the forward direction, and the current flowing through the resistor R is the same direction for both half cycles. As the output voltage across the resistor R is the phasor, some of the two waveforms combined. This type of full wave rectifier circuit is known as the biphase circuit. Okay. These are four, as the space between each half cycle developed by each diode is now being filled by the other diode. The average DC input voltage across the load resistor is now double that the single wave half wave rectifier circuit, and is about 0.637 maximum of peak voltage, assuming no see that we use only first is single, we use a single diode for half wave rectifier, two diodes in full wave rectifier. Here it is known as the bridge rectifier. Bridge rectifier means there will be two diodes in the positive cycle and there will be two diodes in the reverse cycle. So you will get almost a pure DC output across this. The four diode labeled D1 to D4 arranged in series packs with only two diodes conducting current during each half cycle. During the positive half of the supply, diode D1 and D2 conducts, and on the reverse thing, D3 and D4 are reverse bias, and the current flows through the load as shown. Full wave rectifier in positive half cycle, full wave rectifier in the negative half cycle. Okay. Okay, here almost your DC voltage is smoothened. Almost 90% of the almost DC voltage is being smoothened. Where we use a smoothing capacitor. This capacitor is being used, which will smoothen the output DC voltage. So we get at least a pure DC across the terminals. This is the ripple calculation. B ripple secret I load voltage divided by F into X, C is equal to voltage. In comparison, number of diodes, if one diode is being used in half wave rectifier, transformer is necessary, yes, no, or yes, if it is necessary. Okay, maximum efficiency is 40%, ripple factor is 1.21, output frequency. When we use two diodes, we need a center tap transformer, and the transformer is necessary, efficiency is 81%. Whereas in a bridge rectifier, we use four diodes and there is no center tap required, and the efficiency is 81.2%, and the ripple factor is 0.48.